What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Jared. We're continuing with the top 10 movie list of 2019. You know, yesterday I just dropped my top 10 most surprising movies of 2019. Check that out right up there. But today, obviously from the title, we are getting into the top 10 most disappointing films of 2019 according to myself. You know, movies that I was very excited for, I was hyped for, I had been looking forward to, and unfortunately it just didn't get me from 6 to midnight. So these are going to be the top 10 most disappointing films of 2019. But before I get into my top 10, let me know what your guys' top 10 or some disappointing movies that you went out to the theater very excited for and came back very much disappointed. Let me know in the comments down below, but without further ado, let's get into the number 10. Number 10 is going to be Greta, and from the first couple trailers, I was drawn into this film because I love a good mystery, I love a good thriller, I love misdirect, and from the trailer, the way it was crafted, it looked like this film had a lot of that going for it. But once I was into the movie, probably 20 minutes in, I felt like the reveal of the film, or kind of the tension, had already reached the peak, and I didn't know where the rest of the film was going to go. It felt boring, it felt like a slog. Honestly, it felt like one of the longest movies of this year, and I think it was only a little over about 100 minutes maybe. And this movie, it just, unfortunately, I maybe had too high of hopes for this film, went into it, and it was essentially a disaster. I mean, the main lady, I'm trying to think of her name, I'll put it down here because I forgot, obviously, but I thought she did a fine job, the relationship between the two, but the script and where it took things just did not live up to my expectations. Yeah. Number 9 is going to be Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and, you know, with Guillermo del Toro involved with this film, I was excited. You know, it was going to be this scary kind of teen horror film, getting almost a stepping stone into our horror film, but with the creature features and his name on this, I thought I was expecting something of grand scale, I guess. I know I'm not saying it's going to be award-worthy or anything like that, but I was hoping for this fun, borderline teen horror film with these creepy creatures in it, and unfortunately, this just felt like 4 different anthology-type movies somehow stitched together in this bigger film. It felt like a little bit scarier of a Goosebumps-type film. Again, I don't know what I was expecting. I wasn't fully a fan of the original source material, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, the book. Again, I don't know what I was expecting from this film, and I walked out just kind of being like, guess that was a movie. Number 8 is going to be Glass, and you know, with Unbreakable and then the hype of Split being a sequel to that film, and M. Night Shyamalan essentially kind of having a resurgence or a renaissance of such, I was very excited for this film because we're in this age of superhero type films. Unbreakable came out way too soon. I think if it would have come out later, it would have done even more with the fan base and whatnot. But with this rounding out the 3 different characters with Mr. Glass, focusing on them, and the 2 characters going against David Dunn, I was excited to see what this movie had in store. I was ready to see these 2 essentially unbreakable forces with a mastermind controlling everything, going at it together. And man, does it go in a way that seems borderline realistic, but there's a lot of aspects that are kind of thrown in this movie that I thought came out of nowhere. And what M. Night Shyamalan did in this, it ended it in a somewhat satisfying manner, but again, I was very excited to see this grand spectacle. They even kind of almost ironically mentioned that there's going to be one at the end, and then it goes a completely different way, much like M. Night Shyamalan twists in all of his movies. So yeah, Glass just unfortunately breaks. For me, it was disappointing. Number 7 is going to be Lion King, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't even know why this was disappointing to myself. I should have known that it was going to be the exact same story, but with live action computer generated animals doing the exact same thing. I mean, I think it's the fact that Aladdin sort of switched things up, made it its own, so I was expecting Lion King to sort of do the same thing, but unfortunately this is beat for beat for beat, somehow adding about 20 minutes extra into the film. I don't even know where they added that, to essentially make this movie over again, but make it look real. And I know what they did. This is for a different generation of people. It's for people that loved the first one, now have kids, and wanted to expose them to this for their kids, and both of them can be on this weird generational, hey, I love Lion King. And I don't even know what I was expecting from this film, but I walked out just being like, that was Lion King. Number 6 is going to be Brightburn, and with James Gunn sort of somewhat involved, and it taking this dark, gritty, like horror take on a superhero, we had never gotten any of this before. And the first trailer, I was on board for this movie. I want to see superhero movies steer into this horror genre. Even though I'm not a fan of horror, I want to see creepy, weird things going on with superheroes. And this was a take on, obviously, Superman, but instead of going good, he goes bad. That's kind of the movie. Unfortunately, about 20 minutes in, you kind of already know where things are gonna go and whatnot. I was expecting one thing, I was given another thing, and I felt like it very much hit beat for beat what the film was going to be. I was expecting this to kind of skyrocket this genre in a direction to maybe get more of these films. I will say the very end, no spoilers, but they do set up some cool aspects where potentially there might be more in this universe. But yes, walking out of this film, I again was kind of like, eh. I mean, it's the first time I heard Billie Eilish's bad guy playing during the credits, so maybe that helped. I don't know. Number 5 is going to be Rambo Last Blood. You know, old Rambo, Sly Stallone, is coming back in this film. And with it being his last ride, essentially, and with it being a quick, like, 90-minute film, I thought this was going to go boom, 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 and him kicking ass, him saving the day, him essentially riding off into the sunset for this film. First hour, maybe hour and 15 minutes, is this weird, slow drama dealing with someone that's his daughter, but it's not his daughter, and the Mexican cartel. And the first hour and 15 minutes is honestly not what I really even signed up for. I would say the last 15 minutes is Home Alone style Rambo just murdering these fools. And I'm not, being an advocate for murder and all of this spectacle, but that's kind of what people went into this movie for. They wanted to see Rambo doing his thing one last final time. And the last 15 minutes are cool, but again, it feels like it's a highlight reel and put on fast forward because there's no tension really built up in those scenes. It's just these bad guys falling into pits, their arms getting blown off, or getting shot by arrows. Rambo Last Blood, man, did it really miss the mark here. Number 4 is Godzilla, King of the Monsters. And I think this movie was trying to maybe right some wrongs from the 2014 film. That film has actually gotten better in my eyes, I guess, after a rewatch or two. It's still kind of, we want to see this Godzilla kicking some ass. And this movie is very much Godzilla kicking some ass in this film. And with all of these different monsters, I will say that the visuals and lights and the coloring of all of the different monsters and whatnot look phenomenal. But a lot of the drab, dark weather effects really blur what you want to see on the screen. Again, I wanted Godzilla to throw on some boxing gloves and just go 12 rounds with these monsters. And you borderline get that, but you get the human subplot. And unfortunately, I don't know what you do with these movies to not get this ridiculous human subplot. But it's like him sacrificing himself for his family, and the 11, Millie Bobby Brown going off and trying to save the day. It seems very odd. It feels like a very convoluted plot. I wanted big over-the-top action. I kind of got that. Someone's flushing the toilet. That means that they were disappointed for Godzilla as well. Hitting at number 3 is going to be Men in Black International. And we had stepped away from the Men in Black franchise for a bit. So I was very curious on how they were going to bring this back into the fold. There was these rumors that it was going to mix Men in Black with 21 Jump Street, which I think would have been a phenomenal idea for these two franchises, just to make it ridiculous and fun and whatnot for the people going to see these movies. And Men in Black International had some good things going for it into the movie. Chris Hemsworth, Tessa Thompson, their chemistry in Thor Ragnarok bringing that into this movie with aliens and weird things, I was very much on board for this film, and the movie goes nowhere, and it was telegraphed sort of from the very beginning of where this film is going to go. And just trying to play it back in my mind, it's them going to a location to get another thing to another location. It doesn't do much of anything. Men in Black International was a huge disappointment. I remember going to this one. I was very excited. I took a couple people with me, and we all walked out looking at each other very much kind of, what happened with this? This was a major misdirect for the Men in Black franchise, international, just blah. Hitting at number 2 is going to be The Kitchen, and these next two, the reason they're hitting so high, the reason I got so hyped for these movies is the damn trailers. Whoever was making these trailers knew exactly what they were doing, because The Kitchen, based on some sort of like darker, mature comic book with these leading ladies taking over the mob scene, kicking ass, that right there has me intrigued. But the trailer with Paint It Black plain, I was very much excited for this film. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Tiffany Haddish or Melissa McCarthy, but Elizabeth Moss in this, those three in this trailer, it looked like they were kicking ass, they were doing their thing. This was going to be a badass, borderline mobster comic book film, and my god, this movie was just a train wreck of a film. It felt like it was 14 hours long. The plot goes nowhere. The character motivations change so much. The plot goes all over the place. And at the end, I don't even know if things were really resolved. It felt like, again, a very big misdirect. The damn trailer got me for this film. I need to stop watching trailers, or trailers with catchy songs and quick editing, because that is what got me here. And hitting at the number 1 spot is Hellboy. Again, this was a return to form. We had never gotten the finish of the trilogy from the Del Toro ones, but the first look at David Harbour in the makeup, the suit for this new Hellboy design, this looked gritty, this looked rated R, this looked mature, this looked like Hellboy was going to be kicking some ass in this film. And the damn trailer got me again for this film, because it was playing an 80s hit, Moni Moni, with the editing and everyone having fun and action and kicking ass and weird monsters and creatures. I got sucked into this movie, and the bad thing is, 15 minutes in the movie doesn't even know what it's doing. It goes all over the place with all of these different characters. It felt like the movie had been playing 30 minutes prior, and you're kind of thrown into it. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to put this on David Harbour. He tried his best with what they tried to give him, but it felt like they were trying to ham-fist a whole franchise into this first movie to try to set it up for something else. And the last 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes, probably the last like 30 seconds of this movie is the best part of the movie. The movie should have started at the end and ended at the beginning in this weird roundabout way, because it would have worked so much better. The last part where the three people, the weird girl, Hellboy, and Jaguar Man are kicking some ass to some badass music. That's what I wanted in this film. I don't know if it would have made sense with the guy with 3D goggles going back to World War II. I don't know what they were doing, but this was a huge, anyone that went to see Hellboy, this was a huge disappointment. So that is my list of top 10 most disappointing movies of 2019. Obviously, you can tell some of them very much disappointed me quite a bit, and they might be making my worst of list if I get around to making that. But what did you guys think of my list? Were there some missing? Were there some that just disappointed you to the core, and you absolutely can't believe that you fell for the marketing? Let me know in the comments down below. Anyways, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. Watch some more videos up there, movie reviews, trailer reactions, fun comedy skits. The end of the year is coming. We have the worst of, the best of, and then some brand new stuff for 2020. So stay tuned for all of that. Follow all of my social media. Click that subscribe button. It seriously helps me out. Like this video. Share this out. Please, please, please. And until next time, I'll see you later.